Welcome to In the Driver's Seat. I am Lisa French, and I'm a former race car driver turned empowerment coach. This podcast is all about exploring the power of your mindset, belief, and deliberately creating a life you truly love. In these first few episodes, I've been sharing some deeply personal chapters from my life journey, stories of resilience, heartbreak, rediscovery, and the lessons I've learned along the way. My goal is for you to find a little piece of yourself in my stories and to inspire you to step into your own power. Whether you're here to learn, reflect, or simply feel a little less alone in this world, you're in the right place. I am so happy to have you here as we journey toward a life filled with clarity, purpose, and possibility. Let's get started. So happy to have you back. This is episode 5. This is all about where I learned to come into alignment with my soul, where I learned how to create the life that I wanted, all about my spiritual journey. In 2011, I attended a metaphysical fair in Des Moines, Iowa with two of my closest friends. They were more advanced in knowledge about different spiritual aspects. I was just curious. I've always been curious about lots of different things in life and always continually learning, picking up books, diving into different subjects. This one really intrigued me. One of my friends, she was very intuitive. Like, she would say things and it would be true. Like, I don't know how she knew it. She would just hear it. And so I was just interested in all of that. Went to this fair. They kind of went off on their own, and I'm just meandering around all the booths by myself, just kind of checking out each table. What do they have? What's this about? One of my experiences there, one of the first experiences there that I will not forget, is that I'd stopped at a table. I don't remember exactly what their business was about, their organization was about. They had this bowl and it had all these little polished pebbles, stones in it. And I didn't know what I was doing, really. I was just entertaining myself, I guess. And I stuck my hand in the bowl and was just kind of letting the little pebbles and rocks fall through my hands, my fingers, like a little kid in a sandbox type of thing. And when I stuck my hand in the bowl, I felt this electrical tinge in my hand, and I pulled my hand out of the bowl, like literally shocked. And the guy behind the table looked at me like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I felt like this tingly feeling in my hand. And he said, no one has ever said that. And they talk about different crystals and rocks and what stones have different properties and whatever. And again, I was simply curious. So obviously I was like, well, that was weird. So what does that mean? Do they really have some different charges to them? Different, not charge, like electrical charge necessarily, but something happened. There was an interaction between my hand and that stone. But I walked around and I was trying to figure out, because I walked around, I was trying to find someone to do like a reading or something. Like, I wanted to have some sort of interaction with someone there. And I ended up in this booth and she did spiritual channeling, which at that point in time, I really didn't understand what that was. And when it was my turn to go in her booth, she asked me why I wanted a reading. And I had told her there were a couple things. That the biggest one was my grandma French. I kept having this recurring dream about her. And she had passed away when I was 16. My first hard death that I dealt with. Absolutely. She was my bestie growing up. My OG bestie. And I would have this dream that I would dream that she was alive. I would dream of her in her house, and not that I was dreaming that about her. I dreamt that she literally came back to life from the dead. I didn't witness it in my dream, but my knowledge in the dream was that she had previously died and she was now living. It was so real to me that every time I woke up from that dream, I would question myself whether she was really alive or not. And then it would take me a few seconds to realize, no, that was a dream. It is the only dream I've ever had that was recurring. I didn't have it often, maybe a couple of times a year, but it just kept happening. I'm like, what does this mean? I don't understand what this dream means. It obviously felt like a message because I kept dreaming and it felt so real. Like at this point, my parents are gone, grandparents are gone. She's the only one to dream about. My mom would come to a dream about every so often, but not at that level, not even close to that level. And then I told her, this is the period of time when I started seeing 11:11 all the time. I'm like, what does that? I feel like that means something. So she does the channel and she told me that the dream meant that my grandma French had became my spirit guide. And that was her way of telling me she was living through me. She was with me. She was my guide, and she was living life. She was back in life with me. After she gave me that explanation, I never had that dream again. I just felt like, oh, well, of course, like she's my bestie. And then when she said something about 11:11, she asked me if I knew what booth I was in, and I said no. And she said, well, you're in booth 11. And she just told me that I had spiritual capabilities as far as doing similar things to what those people were doing at the fair. But that wasn't something I really had any desire to do. But again, I was just very curious about all of it. So this started me on, I'm reading books. I'm reading books about angels and, specifically archangels and who they all are, what their different roles were in your life and how to call upon them for assistance in your life. I did some educational research about the crystals and rocks, and I didn't get really into that. I also the channel that I had gotten at the metaphysical fair, she talked about numerology, and so I kind of learned a little bit about that. I just was starting on this one thing after another. I could not get enough information. I felt like all of a sudden things started making sense in my life. I watched The Secret. And while I was watching The Secret, which I believe at the time might have been on Netflix, I'm sure it's available somewhere. I'm not sure where you can watch it, but in this point in time, when I watched it, as all the different contributors to the film spoke, I would look them up on social media or whatever, Google them. And so start following Mike Dooley and Bob Proctor, Greg Braden, I believe, was in that one. Bruce Lipton. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting some of them mixed up where I started following them, but all these people in the Secret, I'm looking them up outside and following them and on their socials, so I could again learn more. I wanted to learn more. This is probably around the time I also started hearing about Abraham Hicks, which a lot of people say The Secret was actually taken. The person who did The Secret actually took basically the work of Abraham Hicks and made it The Secret. And I had a really hard time wrapping my mind around Abraham Hicks thing, which is again another person channeling higher spirits. And I would listen to YouTube videos, but I couldn't understand what they're talking about. So I bought the book, Asked and It Is Given. Absolutely everything clicked. Everything, all the things that even as a little kid that I would question about religion started making sense. I just resonated with everything in that book. And so all the lessons about basically how you create your life, how you do deliberate creation, how you manifest, how you're doing it, whether you're doing it on purpose or not. So how do you make things happen that you want to happen? And they have different methods, and I would do these different exercises. And I remember one of the very first ones that I really practiced on purpose, like, oh, I'm going to try it, just like for fun, I'm going to try it. It was at work, and we were doing a raffle type drawing thing where you filled out a ticket, you bought a raffle ticket, and you filled it and you put it in, like, you had all these different auction items, raffle items or whatever that you could put your ticket into that you wanted to try to win. And there was fire pit, and thought, ooh, I would love to win that. So I put basically all my tickets in that. But every time I wrote my name, I closed my eyes and I envisioned me sitting in my backyard in front of the fire pit. I felt the heat from the fire. I smelled the wood burning. I imagined roasting a marshmallow and having a roasted making a s'more. I imagined my children visiting and sitting with me. I just felt the peace of sitting next to a fire. I emotionally felt it. I also pictured the drawing of my name being drawn, hearing my name being read off the ticket. So every time I wrote my name, that's what I went through. And I won the fire pit. And I thought, oh my gosh, I purposely manifested that. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. And it's a lot easier to do it with something small that you don't really care if you really win it or not. It's just like, oh, it'd be cool to have it. But it also practicing it makes you, the more you practice it, the more you can learn to do it for bigger things, like not be attached to the outcome. So another book that I read is called E2. And each chapter had something for you to manifest, like a sign. I think the first one was maybe like a button or a butterfly or something. So the more I would see evidence of manifesting things into my life, the more I wanted to keep that going. And the more I wanted to, how much more can I get into this? And I started meditating. And when I started doing the meditations, I had absolutely wild synchronicities of things showing up in my life, running into people at the absolute right time. And then I even got into what I would say is the science that explains how things are manifested, which is quantum physics. I've read about that. I've learned about quantum physics. So that's really, that there's really no way to wrap that up, because now the next episode leads into my current life here in Florida, how I got here. Well, not necessarily got here, but all the things that led up to that, and all the absolutely crazy manifestations, the synchronicities, all the signs, all the things, and how people would ask me, how can you just do that? How can you just uproot your entire life and be brave about it? And all the stuff I learned here that I've just talked about is how I did that. It prepared me. So if you're excited to hear more about my journey, how I left Iowa, how I solo to come to Florida, to a place in Florida I had never been. Did not know anyone here, and everything just fell into place. Everything. Please subscribe to my channel or like it, leave a message, follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I have a page on Facebook as well. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you're also on a spiritual journey, or maybe you would like to learn more. I'm also going to include a link to my free guide, visualization guide, which is what I did to win the fire pit. So find the link below if you would like that, and it'll be emailed to you, and you can learn the method to visualization. Not the easy word for me to say. So anyway, until next time, remember, you are always in the driver's seat of your own life. You are the one that has control to create the life of your dreams. And I'll see you the next episode. Thank you.